This is one of the best NBA playoffs we could ask for as fans. And with so many teams being so close, this is the best playoffs we've had in well over a decade. And honestly, I would say the best we've had since the Jordan era. Or maybe like between the Kobe and Shaq Kobe and Shaq years. These are some of the best playoffs that we are seeing. The 2021 NBA playoffs. First of all, the competition is higher. The competition is better than any year so far. We're looking at the Hawks, right? Hawks started off the season kind of bad, and they fired their coach, hired Nate McMillan, and made a trade for Lou Williams. And all of a sudden, now they're the fifth seed and won game one based off a Trae Young coming from a Trae Young floater to win the game. The competition, even looking at 2 and 7 seeds, 1 and 8, these aren't gimme games. As we saw, the Grizzlies upset the Jazz. Now, albeit the Jazz were missing their best player, but still, the Grizzlies and the Jazz are the deepest team in the league by far. The Grizzlies came in there. Dylan Brooks had an amazing night, scored 31 points, and the Grizzlies upset the Jazz in Utah. And while the Jazz probably will win because Donovan Mitchell is coming back for game 2, there's so much competition between these two teams. The Grizzlies are a very scrappy team. We saw that in the play-in, and the Grizzlies will fight. And out of every team that's in the playoffs, you can expect a lot of fight. That is why we saw so many close games in game 1. I'm gonna do a recap tomorrow, talking about what tomorrow is Tuesday, talking about all of the game 1s, and we saw Luka go off. Chris Middleton hit the game winner. Even though Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo had bad games, the Bucks Heat game was still a very enjoyable one to start the playoffs. LeBron and Phoenix, right? The Phoenix Suns came out of the gate and completely, they looked like the better team against LA, and they probably are the better overall team. But getting LeBron versus Chris Paul, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, Anthony Davis, that matchup is amazing. Even though it's a 7-2, that matchup is one of the most marquee matchups. That's probably the one that everybody's watching, and the 7 is actually favored in the matchup too. Knicks Hawks, very underrated series that will probably go to either 6 or 7, and it's going to be back and forth the whole series because the Knicks are going to find ways to adjust off of game 1, be better, right? And we're looking at in the East, Brooklyn, Boston. Boston actually had the lead at halftime, and it took a while for the Nets trio to come together, but we can see those games where Jason Tatum just goes off, and the Brooklyn Nets lose. Like that probably will end up happening, right? There's no true finals winner favorite. Past 10 years has been either Heat, Warriors, or now Lakers. Now, you can say the Nets are going to get in there. We don't really know, because were the Nets the 1 seed? No. The Sixers were. And were the Nets, have the Nets trio played together for most of the season? No, they played together for less than 10 games. So, Sixers, Bucks, these teams are contenders in the East. You could even say that the Hawks or Knicks, they can become low-key contenders. You could say the Miami Heat were contender. Miami Heat won the East last year. Of course, they should be considered as contenders to run it back this year. In the West is stacked. And a few years ago, there was a huge difference between the Western Conference players and the Eastern Conference players, especially when LeBron shifted conferences from Cleveland to LA. That is why the captains came in the All-Star game, just because the West was so stacked, there was no competition. And now we're starting to see that the West keeps getting stacked. The East is getting a lot better too, and they're both stacked in their own right. The West has Luka, Zion. Zion didn't make the playoffs, but they were still a very competitive team, and they could definitely steal a game from you if you were not at your best. Steph Curry, the most valuable player in terms of being a valuable player to his team in its literal meaning. See, I didn't say valuable there. Steph Curry, Warriors to make the playoffs. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson coming back. That team's going to be scary. LeBron, AD, Dame. Right now, it's halftime in the Blazers-Nuggets game. Dame already has 32 points, 8 threes. How does he do it? Like, him and Steph Curry just go off on these shooting nights. It's incredible. And Damian Lillard, one-man wrecking crew, brought Portland back from being down almost 20 points to now being pretty close. I think within 10, I'm pretty sure. So, Damian Lillard and the Nuggets series, that's an incredible one. Also looking at the amount of fun teams this year. The play-in tournament, like we had the Warriors, really exciting team to watch. The Hawks are a really exciting team to watch. If you love defense, which I personally love when a team gets down and sits in a good defensive stance collectively for 24 seconds and stops the opponent, I love that. And that is what the Knicks are built off. That's what Tom Thibodeau and the Knicks are built off of. That's why the Knicks are so fun to watch, just because they play really good defense. Right, the Hawks are fun because of Trae Young, Bogdanovich, John Collins blocks and everything, and overall, let's talk about Luka. Luka by himself makes the game fun because he penetrates, step back, he does everything. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, these guys can go off, and it's so fun to watch teams drain threes, go for slam dunks, have these high-flying players, and that is what the 2021 playoffs are all about. The play-in was also a great preview. Warriors-Lakers, I believe the most watched game of the year or something like that. Curry versus LeBron, that was amazing. We had Wizards-Celtics, that one wasn't too fun, but it was a lot better than what we got in the regular season, what we got previously in playoffs in general. Then we have Spurs and Grizzlies. The Grizzlies are also a really fun team to watch because of how the Grizzlies are able to defend and how gritty they are. And also the West and East are both stacked in their own rights. Talked about this earlier. The East has now, a few years ago when KD was in the West, Harden was in the West, the Western Conference was too stacked. But now you see the East has Giannis, Joel Embiid. Giannis was a 2-time MVP. Embiid is in the MVP conversation this year. KD, Kyrie, Harden, Julius Randle, most improved player this year. All of these players have made the East a lot more fun to watch. And the West has always been stacked. Kawhi, PG, Steph, Clay next year coming back. LeBron, AD, Damian Lillard, Nikola Jokic, CJ McCollum. I can go on and on about how many great players there are in the Western Conference. But with all these factors combined, plus I feel like the playoff atmosphere, and now for the first time since March of 2020, we're starting to see fans back in the arenas. Some places have even gotten a good 70 to 80% fan capacity back. And especially like if you saw the Knicks-Hawks game, the Garden lit up, and not the full fan attendance was not even there. The Garden was so unbelievably strong. The atmosphere is incredible, and it makes you want to turn the volume all the way up. Even if you're at home, turn the volume all the way up and scream, even though these guys aren't even these guys who you're watching aren't even your favorite team or your favorite players. You're just watching it for the fun of playoff basketball, and that is what we get this year. No team is holding back. 16 teams, one champion. Who's it going to be? Thank you all so much for watching. Hope all like and enjoy. I'm going to get my game 1 breakdowns coming up tomorrow. Thank you. Peace.